What's up, you guys? My name is Hutch, and I make videos and put them on the internet. And today's Friday, which means that it is the return of Youre. ... Actually, ... isn't even a part of the title. But before I even get to that, I want to say that last night, if you guys follow me on Facebook and Twitter, last night I made a little joke to the tune of maybe in 1,000 years some Christian calendar will run out and we'll realize that's all bullshit too. And I'm not a Christian. And that was mostly a joke. I mean, it was mostly a joke. I say those sort of things and throw some pepper on it to be funny. And a lot of people were offended. And my response to that is, I feel like I don't get offended when people talk about Jesus publicly on things like Facebook and Twitter. And my intention was more to make a laugh, but at the same time, I feel a right to express my point of view. And I don't think I'm very douchey about it. I don't think I'm very judgmental about it. I certainly am strong in my convictions, but anyways, I would say try not to take that stuff so seriously next time, because I don't clown on you guys for posting links to articles about how some lady's heart disease was cured after 50 people prayed for her simultaneously. Like I don't publicly clown on that kind of stuff, even though on the inside I'm like, well, I don't, you know, so maybe just afford me the same luxury. Impossible thing to ask of the internet, I know, but boom. Alright, we've wasted enough time already, let's just jump right into it. First question is, so you're in love with your best friend, but she already has a boyfriend. And I'm not gonna lie, I already recorded this entire Youre literally like 5 minutes ago, and the phone lost the recording, so I'm gonna try not to be cranky. Okay, so you're in love with your best friend and she already has a boyfriend. What I would say to that is that you kind of only get like 1 or 2 free passes before you cross that line into like creepy status. So, but then again, what the fuck do I know? I asked Liz to marry me probably 1,000 times before she said yes. And she kind of had a boyfriend. Dun dun dun. But you kind of only get like one shot. I mean, it was a little different with Liz, but you can put your shit out there on the table. You can throw all your cards on the table and say, look, this is how I feel about you and this is what I'd like to see happen. But if you're going to do that, I feel like you need to prepare yourself for a potential negative outcome, such as the loss of the friendship, at least for a little while or potentially forever. But I would always encourage people to tell other people how they feel, the truth, because I think that's important, and even when it's uncomfortable, that I think that it's way more beneficial to just be really transparent about those kind of things. And but once you get it out of there once, and if she says, no, I'm sorry, I don't look at you like that, then it's important to pull the eject button and get the fuck out of there, because if you stick around too long, she might tell her friends that you're kind of a creeper. You don't want to do that. It's going to fuck up your reputation. So heartache sucks. It really sucks wanting something that you can't have. It can lead to obsession, which can drive a man crazy. It can drive a healthy man sick. And that's why it's important to address it and to get it out there, but to respond accordingly when you get your answer. So that's my piece of advice on that. The next 2 questions are so you're losing motivation in school, and so you're uneducated. And what I have to say about that is that my personal experience is that when I didn't get a thirst for knowledge until I was about 19, and I saw the escalation of the conflict leading up to the occupation of Iraq. And that was in 2003, I think. And I remember being very psychically affected by that. It affected my psyche in a way that I did not see coming. I remember feeling very angry and confused. I didn't know why so many people were dying. It's why I was watching so much footage of bombs being dropped. And that was, for me, was a catalyzing event that led to self-exploration and self-education. I mean, I don't know if it's self-education if you're reading a book because someone else is. But I didn't want to learn anything when I was in school. When I was in high school or college, I didn't really. Nothing that they were saying was making me go whoa. And maybe that's because I didn't find the right teacher that was good for my approach to learning. But once that spark kicked in, I couldn't read enough. I started pouring myself into Howard Zinn, Noam Chomsky, and a number of other authors, and I just put as much stuff in my brain as I possibly could. And then that led to like, well, what's Taoism and what's Buddhism and what's Hinduism, and then so I think like once you get something in your life that sparks interest in something I think it makes it a little bit easier to learn. And I think that a lack of motivation is oftentimes a result of a lack of challenge. And if you're not challenging yourself, then it's easy to get complacent. And that might be your teacher's fault, that might be your parents' fault, that might be your fault. I think it's different for everybody. But if you're feeling like you're not very motivated in school right now, and if you're feeling uneducated, then my advice would be to not get overwhelmed, to find just one thing, if it's history, if it's art, if it's math, if it's science, if it's anything like that, to find one thing that even just sort of interests you. And I guarantee you that if you start on that journey, it will lead to other things that you're interested in, and then all of a sudden your mind will be like an open canvas. And it's good to be open-minded. It's good to be to see that there's more than just your experience in the world. And so give yourself time if you're young. So the next question is kind of related. It's so you're afraid of post-high school, and I just want to. I have one thing to say about that. I have one thing to say, and that's one lesson that I can say that I learned very the hard way was that after high school, no one's going to do anything for you. They might. I mean, you might get lucky. You might have parents that pay your phone bill or put you up in dorms. Or, I mean, that wasn't my case. I took out student loans, and I don't think that makes me any better. Because if my parents would have offered to pay, I would have said, fuck yeah. And so anytime I see someone's parents putting them up in like apartments and stuff like that when they go to college, I'm like, yes, that's good. Focus entirely on school. Don't even get a job, you know. If you can do that would be awesome. But most people, that's not the case. No one's going to pick your career for you. No one's going to do your laundry for you. Maybe someone might, but count on all these things being something that you're responsible for. So if you go into your life post high school, it's good to be scared. It's fucking weird. The transition from high school to college is just so like, it's just boom, you're on your own. And for a lot of people, that's really overwhelming, and it scared the shit out of me. And I went to a bad place with it, but no one's going to do anything for you, and there's nothing better in the world than feeling pride in being autonomous, like knowing that you can take care of yourself. And I think people can derive more of a sense of worth and satisfaction and growth from autonomy than from anything else. So that's my advice to you. No one's going to do shit for you when you're outside of high school. But the exciting thing is then you find out who you really are. When you're stuck with, well, what do I do? Do I got to rub two stones together to start a fire here? Like, how do I get some food? When you figure all those things out, is when you find out what you're really made of, and then you feel better. And then challenges don't seem all that ominous anymore. They just seem like temporary obstacles. And confidence is kind of like, it's like momentum. It's like a snowball effect. Once you, I don't even like using the word successful because it's like dirty to me now, but once you've succeeded at one thing that was particularly trying for you, then that spreads. That little seed spreads to the rest of the things in your life that give you problems, and it gives you courage. So the next two questions are, so you're addicted to video games, and so you're not having fun with video games anymore, which is kind of one and the same, I would say, but my response to that would be that I would take caution throwing a word like addiction around very loosely, because addiction is not, it's not rare, but it's not common. It's about 10% of the population is affected, seriously affected to the point of debilitation by some form of addiction. And for the rest of us, it's a little bit different. For the rest of us, we can, it's hard to explain. For the rest of us, sometimes we can go through some kind of compulsive behavior and then let it go when it gets too harmful. And that's what separates someone who, it's a very blurry line between substance abuse or any kind of abuse and full-on addiction. What happens in between that space is often undefined and very blurry. And it's up to more than just someone's own gut and intuition to come up with the conclusion that they either are an addict or they aren't. So that would be my first piece of advice, is be careful when you throw around the word addiction. And then the second thing that I would say is if you are fortunate enough to not actually be addicted, if you find yourself in the middle of a compulsive behavior, in this case being video games, then then it might be time to use your time a little bit more diversely. So instead of playing 5 hours of video games, spend an hour, and you spend 4 hours out at coffee shops and parks and walking around and getting out. I think that's really important. And I don't mean to give such a cookie cutter response, but I think the more important part of my response to your question, I think the biggest point that I have is that, well, be careful when you throw a word like addiction around. And if you think it might be addiction, then I think that you should talk to someone before making up that sort of diagnosis on your own. Because chances are you're not addicted. Chances are maybe you're a little bit sad about something in your life, or maybe you're in a rut and holy shit. And video games make that a little easier for now. But chances are it's a temporary spot that you're in, as all things usually are, just a transitionary moment. You're not the same a year later than you are a year before, so hang in there. The last one was my favorite one by far, and it was so you might be getting a little desensitized to all these mass shootings, and I would say that, well, no shit, you know, and it's not your fault, but unfortunately we live, at least in this country, in a media that's obsessed with violence and creating villains, and what's particularly unfortunate about this is that these sick individuals that end up shooting massive amounts of people before killing themselves or getting caught, they want notoriety, they want fame, they want attention, they want the world to know that they did this thing, and our media just fuels it. And it's not just our media, it's YouTubers too. I mean, it's just, I don't even know the guy's name. I know that he was pissed off at his mom. I don't want to know his name, because I feel like if I do, the more that I learn about this guy, the more that I'm satisfying his sick urges. Now sometimes I'll get bored and morbid and I'll just want to read about fucked up shit that happens, and like that's just my voyeuristic human side that everybody has. But I would say that chances are, if something like this, if a tragedy like this happened to you personally and to the ones that you know and love, that you would probably be affected. It would probably make you very, very sad, and I wouldn't lose any sleep over feeling put off by all the attention that this murderer is getting right now, because I'm put off by it too. I don't want to see it so much. There's a time to be reflective and sorrowful, and then there's a time to enjoy life. And unfortunately, the media just makes stuff like this. They make it like a 2-week mourning event, and it's more than that. It's not just a mourning event. It's a pornography. Like it's a violence pornography. And I think media outlets should be ashamed of themselves. And it's not your fault. If you're young and you're worried about being desensitized to it, you have a good reason to be desensitized to it. People are handling, the grown-ups, the big guys, are handling this awfully, like they always do. And then they tried to find correlations between Grand Theft Auto sales and instances of murder, and it's just mind-blowingly inept. Anyways, so that's your video for today, guys. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Christmas is coming up, and I really hope that you guys have a safe and awesome holidays with your families. And I hope that you're getting along with your families. Like last year, my family was fighting. I didn't even go up for Christmas. I spent Christmas by myself, and that's not the case this year. So we're all talking and having a good time, and I couldn't be happier. And I wish that to be the case for you. So hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.